Don't. Hey, yeah. Don't. Hey, yeah.
Going live.
Live.
What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? This your boy Mel. It's the As a Black Man podcast. Boy, you already know what it is. It's your boy Mel Simmons. We got my man Joe Barnhart. What up, Joe?
Morning, my peoples. Good morning.
Oh, he want to be all, you know what I mean, modest this morning. He ain't got the energy and the hypeness like me or whatever. But
Nah, you super hyped this morning, bro.
we gonna let him slide, Joe. But we got a special guest today. Woo, got me all excited. Yeah, man.
We got Dr. T on the phone with us. The blessed brother.
Yeah, man. So introduce yourself a little bit, Kevin. Tell us why you wanted to come on the show today, man.
Yeah, it's definitely delayed, but I guess you should said introduce myself, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Kavon Turman, the Brothers Brunch, curating. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Man, this is crazy.
Is it your headphones?
No, I just turned these joints off. Can you
Hey,
hear me
Mo,
now?
try it out the music, bro.
Yeah, you there?
I'm here. That's better?
Yeah.
All right, bet. Then what was your question?
I said introduce yourself, bro.
Oh man, Kavon Turman, from Philadelphia originally, living out here in Delaware. It's been quite some time. I am by day, I'm a fundraiser, and the rest of my life is spent curating a beautiful experience for brothers called the Brothers Brunch.
Yeah, man. I had went to one of your events, man. We had a great time, man. Joe, man.
We was able to make it. That was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
both of us.
I've been to.
Oh, you too, Joe?
Yeah. I used to feel ostracized, bro. Cause he'll have them. I never got an invite. I was complaining like, hey, I ain't get no invite. They hit some invite and I couldn't go because the other stuff I was doing. I felt bad, man. You reached out to me, I couldn't go.
The invite is always open.
Right.
Stop your foolishness.
He said you don't bang with him like that. Look, guys, we're so excited for the show today. Dr. Kavon, I've been messing up his name this entire time, but we're gonna get it right. All right.
Stop with the doctor thing, man.
You stop with the doctor thing. See, that's how I don't listen to Joe, man. Joe always be just coming up with nonsense. Look, guys, as a black man, I know how it feels to feel alone. I know how it feels to be told that I'm not good enough. No, I'm not here for your entertainment. I'm not a rapper, a ball player, a celebrity. I'm a human being. As a black man, I'm told to man up when I have feelings, ignore when I speak my pain. Hopeful that things will change, yet disappointed they often remain the same. As a black man, I'm strong because I have to be. This life, I gobble up the weak, and the pain and trauma that I've been through has humbled me to become a better me. It's time, as black men, that we stand our ground. We speak our truth. We go after what we want, regardless of the pain we've been through. We quit for no one and inspire others to be themselves, to become greater. We owe it to ourselves as black men. Thank you guys so much for viewing our podcast this morning.
Let's go.
We're excited, man. So, the Brothers Brunch, bro. The Brothers Brunch. Go ahead, tell us what made you start that, and tell the people a little bit about that, man, and about your vision, man. It was awesome. We really had a good time coming down there.
No, man, I appreciate you brothers for coming. I'm gonna work on this sound because y'all still low on my end, but I definitely can hear you. So the Brothers Brunch was started in 2015. It was a year where I was having a pending birthday, and I looked around and I said, "Listen, there's nothing physically that I want or desire. How dope would it be if I can get like this amazing cohort of brothers together that are from all walks of life? Like when I look at the people that are in my life." I had a boy that worked for Def Jam, and I have a boy that's a prominent lawyer in Philly. a boy that does maintenance, you know what I mean? You know, a homie that's a teacher. Like when I looked at my network, it was just it spanned off like all across every human endeavor. And I just was like, wow, it would be dope if I could bring all these brothers to one table for my birthday, just to chop it up, just to break bread. That's all I want is I just want my people around. And prospectively, like they are all important to me, but they don't know each other. So I said, man, if I could pull this off, this would be awesome. And Rex 1516 out in South Street, I pretty much got the area and got is a really small space, and I had all my brothers come, and it was epic. I mean, one bull walked away with a job. He had connected with my other homie, and everybody just kept saying, "Yo, man, like, what's up? When we doing this again?" And I'm like, "Bro, I ain't in the business of like throwing events. Like, I just, happy birthday. It was a good day. Let's keep it moving." But then I walked away and I said, "Wow, man, this is." I was talking to God, and I just was like, maybe this is a part of what I'm called to do. Not everybody has the ability to bring people together. So, and do it in an effective way where they're yearning for more when they leave. So that's when the Brothers Brunch was birthed, man. We decided to just do a there are three ingredients to the Brothers Brunch: it's cuisine, culture, and connection, and it's basically an expansion of one's palate. When you think of one's palate, you think of it from just a culinary standpoint, and this is really from a life experiential standpoint, just expanding brothers to various aspects of the world and restaurants and food, cuisine, culture, connection. We obviously go out to Haiti once a year, so we have the international plug, and yeah, just bringing men from all walks of life together around just a conversation amongst men. It's a safe space, as you all recognized when you all came to Cuts and Combos, and nothing is barely left on the table.
Right. I would say, Mel. So the first three times I saw his program via social media, the dynamic of people he had there, the age range was very dynamic. Also, he had from younger brothers to the senior brothers, and the topics that he had, the shows, were enticing me to be a part of it. That's why I chased after it for so long. So when I saw that he's having it that one time at the barbershop, like I had to be there because everybody in the streets talks about the brothers brunch. You know what I mean? Whether they eat lunch together or he had different fasts that they did. Like I had to be there because the word in the street was very strong about the brothers brunch. And we all know that African American males we struggle with having functions that don't consist of alcohol, women dancing around, live music. For them to have a platform with this dialogue and the amount of people that was going there, like I had to be a part of it. You know what I mean? And plus, Dr. Thurman, he has a strong following because he's a very dynamic man. So for him to have his hand on this right here, I had to be a part of it because if he got his hand on it, people coming to it, like I had to gravitate to it also. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I had to have him on here today. You know what I mean?
Bro,
Because
listen, I'm humble. I'm humbled by your words, and I'm gonna tell you why. I think that typically, particularly as a culture, we hate on things that we don't understand. And I
right,
think, I've heard so many naysayers, right? I don't focus on the naysayers, but I've heard so many brothers that just didn't understand, like, wait, why we got brothers coming together with other brothers? No women are involved. And
right,
we brunching? That's what we doing? We brunching? Like, and so at the end of the day, yeah, I know folks are intrigued by it. They don't understand the concept. They constantly want to know, like, well, what is it that you really do? But I'm humbled by those words because I figure, I one, we're brothers on multiple levels, obviously, right?
right.
And we're part of the bond as well. And I just think, it was a lot of the folks when I was hearing the naysayers, it was a lot of the folks that I thought were kind of like with me. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so when your platform starts to grow and it gets larger and larger, you start to realize that not everybody wants you to be successful. Not everybody really understands it, and when they don't understand it, they tend to hate on it. And the hate is hurtful, man. It's hurtful. It's like, yo,
It is.
here I am trying to bring brothers together, just around cuisine, culture, and connection, and really just trying to expand our thinking so that we can show up as better men, better husbands, better fathers. And a lot of it is therapeutic for me. So it had nothing to do with you for real, for real. Like it's therapeutic for me. It helps me evolve and grow and be in a courageous space where iron sharpens iron. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, my experience with it, you know, it was kind of like a no-brainer for me to go because it kind of a similar reason why we started our podcast to open a space where Black men can get together and talk about becoming better men. Like if you listen to our positive affirmation at the beginning of the show that I wrote, you know, it's just about just building each other up as Black men and getting through the challenging times and just having a space where we can connect and build with each other. Because like the more I started talking to other Black men, the more I realized that so many of us go through similar stuff and we don't talk about it. So, you know, when I found out you had the Brothers Brunch and you guys were going to talk about some of the things we talk about on our podcast, we could talk about like how to be a better husband, how to be a better father, like that. It takes a real adult to sit together, man or woman, to really be open with some of the things that we were open with sharing with at your event, and to see other grown men that's like, hey man, you know, I want to be a better father. What are some of you guys doing when your kids are doing this and when they're doing some of that, man? It was so powerful, bro, because that's what we need. Like, there's nothing wrong with talking about these things. There's nothing wrong with trying to build each other up. And there was no judging. You know, people can openly say
you wouldn't understand it if you weren't there.
Right. You know, so that's like when you have that open platform to be able to share, because a lot of the stuff, bro, you can read 100 books on being a parent.
Right.
But if you ain't got that experience, yo, you know what I mean? There's only so much the books can give. Like, I know I'm not a parent, but I ran my own business for the last 6 years. And I done read countless books on running a business. And it wasn't until I started talking to other people that had businesses was I getting real advice. Yep. Like, yo, the book is cool if you got the right set of circumstances, but you need real life people that you can connect with. You need people you can build with. You need mentors. So your platform, just giving people that space. Like even me, I learned something new about being a business owner. I never knew what a DUNS number was. And we went there and they was telling us, hey, you need a DUNS number. You need to build your business. Yeah. So that was what I got from coming to your event that I wouldn't have got before, because I didn't have people like telling me how to get business credit. It ain't in the book. You know what I mean? I read all these books. So, you know, it was just great that you're doing this, man. Keep it up, bro. I'm definitely going to come to the next one, and I really enjoyed myself, bro. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think the best thing about it too, that he's not just keeping it here locally, right? So he's been to a couple of campuses. He's been in another country. So his vision, like our vision, man, like we're trying to reach every man we can. You know what I mean? Right. Because we, as men alone, we have problems with communication. Then now you have the fact that we're Afro Americans on it. That's another content that we don't like to talk. You know what I mean? But to have a platform where we can talk to people, he can talk to people, we can bring it together. It gives men an outlet, bro. Like, right. Like when I left this show, man, I wanted to run home. I want to run all the way from Wilmington back to Smyrna because I had so much excitement in myself for the guys I met, for topics that we had, like just talk about like just kids. I know men don't like talking about their kids a lot of time. You know what I mean? That's the thing that they like try to push it aside. So Dr. T, I tell you, man, like just that small platform you had that day was phenomenal. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, Mel. A lot of times he have a dress code, right? Where the brothers got come with suit jackets on. One time he had it where brothers had to have hats on, shirt and ties. That's another dynamic that we used to have back in the '60s. Very strong. We walked around the neighborhood with just, with suits on daily, right? Yeah. So for him to have that coming back to a platform, we got men come together. It's a positive message, and you can meet a lot of people. Like you say, you got people getting jobs and connections. Me and Mel got stuff from like that's phenomenal. You know what I mean? We need
for our viewers, man, tell them how they can get involved with the Brothers Brunch. How they can either get on your mailing list, be able to come to the next event, where the next one's going to be at. Let them know, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're on Instagram, _brothers_brunch. Follow us all day. You can also go to the website, www.thebrothersbrunch.com, www.thebrothersbrunch.com. And definitely there's a link where you can always request to be able to be a part. We are moving in a direction where we may become more of a subscription, but for right now, we're coming up on 5 years as of November. It'll be 5 years that the Brothers Brunch has been in existence. And so we've evolved to a place where things might get a little more streamlined, and we're gonna bring it to scale. We just launched Brothers Brunch South. My boy Jabin Ferrer is down there, and he's going to be pretty much taking and duplicating the model. We launched it with Morehouse College, so
Awesome.
yeah, you can always just reach out via social media. We're on Twitter. Everything is the Brothers Brunch.
That's awesome, man. Guys, I just put the link to the website in the comments. Guys, please, we need more Black men to get involved with positive stuff like this, man, because, you know, we always like get together and we have stuff that we're doing. We're going to watch the NFL, we're going to watch the boxing, we're going to watch the UFC. But this kind of stuff, getting together as Black men and having these powerful conversations need to be just as important. Right? So we need more Black men to get involved, man. I put the link in the comments. I'm gonna go on and sign up myself, bro. So thank you for sharing.
No, I appreciate you guys. I think at the end of the day, man, we grew up in houses where, and same with my house. My mom was a single parent. It was just her and I. I grew up as an only child. My dad does have other kids, and I think at the end of the day, what I heard a lot was what goes on in my house stays in my house. What you're not going to do is go out there and tell my business or tell whatever goes on in this house. And I think inadvertently what happens is in life, we start to just, we embody that. It's whatever we're struggling with. Like men, we suffer in silence. There's a lot of things that we go through that you'd be surprised. A lot of us go through the same ish. Like, but we're just not talking about it. We're not really built that way to be vulnerable. And like society doesn't say, look, so I'm raising a son. So I'm very clear on give it words. It's right. Okay. Whatever you and your feelings, you have emotions, but give it words. I'm teaching my son to articulate his thoughts. Like, look, if this is how you feel, let's talk through how you're feeling. I didn't get a lot of that growing up. So now what happens is when you don't do it as a young boy, you grow up and you become a man who suppresses a lot of those feelings. And how we show up as husbands, how we show up as friends, how we show up as fathers sometimes becomes toxic. I just did a series on toxic masculinity down at Morehouse. And, I get a lot of, again, the naysayers like, well, what's toxic about masculinity? There you go. That's it right there. But you so
right. Why are you mad? Yeah, why are you mad?
Right.
Toxic about masculinity. Masculinity is a beautiful thing, right? It becomes toxic when we don't understand how to express ourselves. Thereby, we end up being angry and everything has to be, this bravado has to be indicative of being a man, right? Being tough has to be indicative of being a man. And I think what you experience at the table, at the Brothers Brunch, is this vulnerability. But it's like, it's so dope because nobody's like overly like, you might see a tear here and there, but that's, it's not what you may think. It's an experience where it's a sharing of knowledge. It's a sharing of, experiences. That one brunch, the one you all went to was the fourth variation of Cuts and Convos. The third or second one, I'll never forget. I brought two of my boys to the table, and both of them had experienced loss. They lost infants. Wow. One within a week after his daughter was born, and the other, I think the daughter was born in like within hours. And I knew their stories, but they didn't know each other. And so one guy gets to talking, and he's opening up, and he's like, none of you all can really understand. You'll never understand what I went through. And my other boy spoke up and said, nah, bro, like I'm one person that I do understand. And before you knew it, it was like time had frozen. We're all spectators and they're having a moment, right? And they're talking about this moment that none of us really can relate to. And people always say, oh, I know how you feel. I sympathize. But like, if you didn't lose a mom or lose her dad or lose her baby, you don't really understand what the person feels. And I think that's the beauty in the Brothers Brunch is where, you can you can leave the pretense and the ego at the door. You know what I mean? Like as brothers, we can talk about women in sports all day, right? With like literally from sun up to sundown. But being intentional about being relational with one another and being able to like really open up some wounds and then have some closure. It's a beautiful thing, man. And I love it. And I take the responsibility very seriously.
And look, we got a comment real quick. Sorry about that, Mel.
Oh,
From
go ahead.
one of our viewers. He said, as a black man, said we need to address the agenda to emasculate the black man without BS rhetoric. No excuses. The agenda to push homosexuality in our community is genocide. Then he also said toxic masculinity in a more forced, ambiguous. Wow, he had some big words this morning. And vague social construction. It means different things to different people. We need to unify and operationalize definition of the terms before using it casually. You know what I mean? He's one of our brothers also, for Horatio. Yeah. So here's the thing.
The crazy thing is we talked about toxic masculinity being a social construct. So first of all, there's a academics is my thing. Brothers Brunch, when we go to colleges and universities, the proposal that's written is based off of research, like real data, in terms of completion rates, succession, retention for brothers, and how important it is to have a conversation amongst men during your earlier stages in college, and how that really does make a difference. So when we get to the table, we're not only just having dialogue, but we're having rich dialogue, and we're talking about things being social constructs, and this whole notion of masculinity and the uses of words, because anybody can, a pair of lips can say anything. A pair of lips can say anything, and we know that, right? So I can motivate, I can encourage, but at the end of the day, we unpack everything. So I hear that brother loud and clear, and I appreciate the comment.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, like with the whole toxic masculinity, it's just as simple as like when we wanted to start like this podcast, man, and it's just like, well, you're not, I heard things like, people are not going to be that open to sharing their feelings and stuff like that. But when you start to talk to people, and we started to get people to call in, you start to get more people that's willing to open up when they see that other people are willing to do so, man. So we just need to change that narrative, that you're less of a man if you share your emotions with another man, or that somehow makes you not straight or anything else like that. Like, we should be able to connect with each other and build those relationships, because you don't feel so alone. And that was the main thing when I was really, really depressed and was going through like being suicidal. This was a long time ago, of course, but like I felt like it was just me. I was alone. Nobody else was going through the things that I was going through. And then, even though I went through some pretty traumatic stuff, I met so many people that either went through similar things or even worse things. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is black men. We're all going through similar things. We're all going through abuse in our families. We're all going through financial challenges. We're all going through that marriage issues, problems raising our children, problems at work, feeling unappreciated, feeling undervalued. We all go through similar things and nobody talks about it. So we mask those feelings with just talking about sports and talking about other things that's not as important, and that's why I seriously say like that black consciousness that we want as black men and women does not come without mental health. Right. There is no black wealth without mental health. And that's my slogan that I created. And I truly stand behind that, man, because we have generations of generational trauma that we're passing down to our children and nobody's talking about it. Nobody. So it's like my parents, we didn't have like the greatest relationship growing up, but we got really close before they died. And, just some of the stuff my dad said to me, I've realized the hurt that was put onto him. And I was like, oh, wow, like he was really hurt and never talked about it, never saw it there, never went. It looks like we're getting a call. Hold on for a second. Thank you for calling the As a Black Man podcast. This is Mel.
Hi, greetings, Mel. I just wanted to call and congratulate the young brotherhood. I'm Horatio. I'm the individual that left the comment a few minutes ago.
What's good, bro?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for calling in. You still there?
Oh, you're more than welcome. Yes, sir. You're more than welcome.
Yes, sir. Do you have another comment?
I do. I just wanted to say I congratulate this forum. I'm very appreciative of anything that manifests the need for black men to existentially examine ourselves. I do apologize to the other brothers. I know my fellow comrade on the Panhandle Shield is in the middle, and I know there's a brother on the left and the right, so I don't know you by name, but I will say you're the three kings of this Saturday morning, and I congratulate what you're doing. The energy is amazing. The intellectual orientation is crisp, and it's exactly what we need. The only thing I was referring to when I made the comment regarding toxic masculinity is the vague, amorphous, and ambiguous nature that it is thrown about. And I think we just need to be very careful. As a historian and an archival scientist, science is precise. We're seeing what happens when emotions and opinions rebuke science right now with this coronavirus situation and the pseudo-intellectual orientation of Trump versus the pristine intellectual orientation of Dr. Fauci. And it's an oil and water mix. So this is critical. I think that the agenda on many platforms is destructive and genocidal for the Black community. So as we engage the conversations, I just compel us to use terms that we can operationally define in that moment for clarity's sake.
Wow. Well, thank you for calling in, man. You're blowing me away with it.
Yeah. I think, it's interesting. The comments are great, but I think it's interesting. I think there's a sensationalism behind a lot of these things that are being thrown out. To your point, I definitely hear you. And of course, here's how I lean into most situations. I seek first to understand, then to be understood. And so I have opinions on a lot of things, but what I will say is the reason why I'm that way is because I realize that there's a sensationalism behind a lot of the topics or terms that are being used. And toxic masculinity, the term in and of itself, is purposefully meant to be jarring. It's meant to evoke an emotion. It's meant for you to have an opinion before you get to the table. So I think sometimes that's what the media does, right? And oftentimes that's what the media does. And I think particularly when you're going to these college campuses, believe it or not, you walk away thinking differently completely. It's less about the term toxic masculinity and more about all that we were able to unpack when we're at the table and we're in this courageous space. But you mentioned a few other things, and I think I don't want to gloss over them. This whole notion of genocide and homosexuality. Again, it's something that's taboo, and it's something, particularly in the African American community, nobody wants to talk about it, right? Nobody wants to talk about any of these things, and so there's a certain I take the power away from you when I'm able to tell you, hey, this is what I've been through. So at some brothers brunches, I've divulged to people that, hey, I've been sexually molested as a child, right? And you should see the facial expressions on folks. It's like, did this brother just like say that? And one is 2020. Yeah. When are we going to start talking about the fact that most times, not only does it happen often in our communities, but it typically is somebody that is close to us, right? Yeah. And we have all this trauma and all these things that happen in our communities and with our young men, and our young men eventually become fathers and husbands. And there's so many layers to this conversation, and we're not talking about it. And then you wonder why we're walking around angry or resentful or not being able to really truly open up to each other as men.
Right.
It's a lot to talk about.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, we got a response, but I just wanted to say real quick, thank you for sharing, Dr. T, man. It's something that I've been through as well. And I started opening up and talking about it as well. And I've talked about it on this show before a few times. And it happens so much in our community, like, and nobody is talking about it. And like, you just really got to be careful if you're a parent who's around your kids. I'm like a big advocate for that, like educating people, like that uncle you think is not crazy like that, you just gotta be really, really careful because this stuff is happening so much in our community. And then as a man, you grew up like, I mean? I used to be like, am I gay? Because this happened to me when I was 10 years old. Like, I should have known better. I should have, you know what I mean? So that stuff sticks with you for your entire life, bro. You know what I mean? And
I would say also too, I never experienced that myself personally, but both my daughters were molested by their grandfather. You know what I'm saying? So now we're going through the court processes because he's trying to get parole. But he can't get parole. You know what I mean? So just being able to talk to like Mel and other people who have been molested, see their social stances that helps me to be able to work with my daughters. Yeah, they go to therapy and stuff like that, but they hear from a dad that
Right.
loves them, that they can trust in, give them that support that they can make it through this thing. So the dialogue about that and anything else we could talk about is always rewarding because you never know who's going to touch and how's going to touch
Right.
them. You know what I mean? Nobody knew my daughters. I kept that private.
Right.
My daughter was molested by their grandfather, which is my ex-wife's father. You know what I mean?
Right.
Couldn't find he molested her as well, and he molested the whole family. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he was a serious pedophile, but nobody talked about it. Nobody told me. I was married to this woman for 14 years.
Wow.
That he was doing this. You know what I mean? Until I locked him up. You know?
Amazing. Can I do my thing real quick before I can jump on?
Yes, sir.
All right, so just two quick. First of all, I mean, I'm almost shedding tears. The brilliance of the three of you, I mean, just absolutely well done. There's two things I want to say really quickly before I get off the phone because I want to get back to your show so I can just see the visuals and check out your breakdown. The science, what we're talking about now, is the science of homosexual. You're right. You cannot put a blanket on that phenomenon and judge it carte blanche as a good thing or a bad thing. I have very definitive opinions about it as a conservative from South Carolina. However, I am completely in the same realm as many of you gentlemen and many of us regarding having the aspect of molestation in part against me as a child and some of the confusion that might bring as you are in your formative years. So we can't just put a cover over it. There has to be some dissection. There has to be some really uncomfortable conversations that are made where brothers are willing to do what you all have done already, and that's reveal yourselves, put yourselves in the mix. That's issue number one. Last issue I want to talk about before I'll let you guys go is the young brother's commentary on sensationalism. I completely agree with what you say regarding sensationalism. However, in this day and age, 2020, sensationalism is being weaponized. I'm going to use the coronavirus as an example. Donald Trump and some of the red states, and full disclosure, I am a revolutionary Lincolnian black Republican, an anti-Trump Republican. Let me put that out there. But the red states are now playing down this notion of the spread of the coronavirus. As you can see, many of the red states have not done the statewide shelter in place because they believe in states' rights. That is the same ideology which spurred us into the Civil War, states' rights over federalism. That's the same argument. The sensationalism is dangerous because what brothers are doing now, and I say brothers, I mean humans, what humans are doing now is one group is sensationalizing the need to put masks on and the need to stay in shelter in place. That's being sensationalized. I just want to say there is no urination section of a swimming pool. If you go to one corner of a swimming pool and pee, you're going to affect the entire swimming pool. So individuals attempting to argue that it's sensationalist to put masks on, it's sensationalist to maintain the 6-foot distance, they're being counterintuitive and violating the very precepts that they're trying to protect and preserve the United States of America. That's all I have to say, brother.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. We definitely appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. I love you guys and be at peace.
All right, love you too.
We'll be back.
I just wanted to make it clear real quick that we are in no way insinuating that every black male that is homosexual is because he was molested. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Right,
some people are homosexual because they prefer that. There's nothing wrong with that. We look like we got another caller. Thank you for calling the As a Black Man podcast. This is Mel.
How you doing? This is Chadsworth.
Hey, how you doing, Chadsworth?
Another one of our brothers. What's up, Chadsworth?
What's going on, bro?
I knew good brothers. What's happening?
What's good? What's good? I feel like the only left out. I'm the only one not in the. Well, I am in a fraternity, but I ain't a Kappa or anything like that. You know, I'm the only.
But your brother's a Kappa.
Yeah, my brother's a Kappa, and Yolan's a Kappa, and Dwayne's a Kappa. So we just gonna go with my 3 boys, you know. And my boy Eric Davis, shout out to my boy. He's also a Kappa.
3 is the operative number, bro.
I know, right?
It's all good. The commitment you have to the community is good enough.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk for a second about toxic masculinity. I personally reject any and all notions of toxic masculinity because it's a label. What I accept is that we have historically and currently live in patriarchally dominated societies, and that women throughout history have been deeply oppressed. That I think we have to accept as an absolute truth. But these labels, I reject them. And here's why. I believe that when you have labels like toxic masculinity, what they do is reduce complex issues down to elementary terms. To me, it's in the same vein as when people say implicit bias. Come on. Implicit bias is just prejudice. When we grew up, the things that they call implicit bias now, we've said openly, quickly, and succinctly that that's prejudice.
Right.
So you have now, you have in 2020, people take complex issues and they reduce them down because it's a catchphrase. I am one of the, if you follow me on social media, you'll see that I make comments, and even when I teach, right, I make sure that I teach the oppression that women have suffered over time, particularly when I teach African American history. And the reason that I teach that is because globally, in our experience from the motherland into this country, there's not a moment in our history where we were not accompanied by women. But yet, when our history, even our history, when it is told, most of the time the contributions of women have been marginalized and undervalued. And until you promote those things equally, then we don't truly see the strength of our people. Right. And these terms, it's like when people talk about, and I'm trying to keep this all linear, but it's like when people talk about Black feminism, right? Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is, depending on how you look at a glass that is half the volume is missing, whether you look at it as half empty or half full, the truth of the matter is either Black women never participated in a feminist movement or they started the original feminist movement. If you want to take a look at Phyllis Wheatley and you want to go and you take a look at Pauli Murray, those types, the activities and the things that they did, today you would classify that as feminism. But the major feminist movement in America did not largely include Black women because Black women learned with the passage of the 15th Amendment that they were an independent class. I just say those things as to why I reject labels and I look independently at each situation.
You know what? Thank you so much for sharing that. I also don't use the term toxic masculinity, probably for a little bit of similar reasons. You can't really say, in my opinion, you can't really say something is like toxic masculinity when it's kind of been like constructed for us to have a lot of the issues that we have.
Yep.
So if you could just go back to like some of the issues that we had in general are so far generational that how can I be judged on it in 2020 for stuff that's been handed to me down generations? Does that make sense? It's like you kind of like you're putting this label on me, but for example, like finances. My parents might have not been like the greatest financially, right? So they didn't teach me that, right? So I didn't know how to handle money until I started reading books and learning on my own or talking to other people that invested. So that's like saying, oh, well, you should just pick yourself up by your bootstraps, because that's what you hear all the time when people, talk to us about our where we are financially, right? Just pick yourself up by your bootstraps. My parents did it, yada, 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 right? But if you're not given the same tools and the same knowledge and the same resources, it's hard to punish or label somebody that doesn't have those things. So that's why I don't use terms like toxic masculinity, because most men don't have any idea of what masculinity is or what real masculinity is, because they never had an example of real masculinity. So
yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but and look at it this way too. Whose perception of masculinity do you accept? Because I can tell you, as Africanoid people, our role and responsibility as men back in our motherland, and even here in America with what we experience here, our role is not the same as our European brothers and sisters. It was not. You could not expect a man who at any time could see his wife's body ravaged, taken by a master, to have the exact same connection to manhood as someone whose husband was doing that.
Wow. Woo. That's deep right there, bro.
That's real deep.
That is real deep.
But you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you take if I were a European and I watched a African American man watch as his wife's body was pillaged, and I didn't watch that African American man strike back, and I look at him and say, that ain't a man. A man should do this.
Right.
But if I'm that African American man, and I know that if I strike back, I'm hanging from a tree in less than an hour. It is more important to my family that I be here. So now when we talk about manhood, whose perspective do we use? That's all. I don't want to dominate the conversation, fellas. I appreciate it. I love you guys. I try to tune in as much as I can. These are much needed discussions.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, and that was really deep. We definitely appreciate you.
Thank you, Brother Howell.
You too. Yeah, so I just want to follow up. That's kind of what I was saying, where I was saying I don't, use those labels just for that, because there's no, like he's saying, like, what definition are we going to use for masculinity? Like, some people, when I ask that question, they want to bring up the Bible and they use the Bible definition. Okay, but like, there's no clearly defined way to be a man. Everybody is just trying to figure this stuff out on their own and trying to figure out how to be a husband and trying to figure out how to be a parent. And, we're just learning by our mistakes and the stuff that we're going through. What are your thoughts, Dr. T, about what the gentleman was just saying?
It's Kev, man. Stop that.
Is he a doctor or not, man? I keep hearing.
Yo, stop, Joe. You tripping. So listen, man. I mean, the brother said a lot. I think it's just important to, as men, we're going to be in so many different social circles, right? For me, believe you can agree with titles or not. Are titles going away?
No.
So to me, it's all about education, right? Educating ourselves and educating others. So this whole notion of toxic masculinity is really going against, this society where there's traditional, male gender roles, and that men are only supposed to handle things a certain way. There's a definition behind it. Don't agree with the term. That's fine, right? But when you think about somebody, my son hurts himself when he falls, right? And immediately there's two responses. On one end, I can say, yo, get up, suck it up.
Right.
I don't want to see no tears. Get yourself together, brush it off, keep moving. Or I can say, all right, it's cool. Accidents happen. You good? All right, cool. Help them, whatever. There's so many different ways that I can respond to that one moment, but we're not talking about how we respond, how that actually sets the tone for how our kids and how men are going to respond in general to other things, right? When I'm not able to at least give my emotion words, and I'm not able to actually say, if I say, all right, listen, son, it's okay to cry. It's cool. Listen, but I'm going to, at some point when you get yourself together, I'm going to need you to explain to me why you're crying. So, and after he gets finished explaining to me how he feels, there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in having that moment, at least, because most of us, I know for my mom, she's punching me in my chest like, yo, you better toughen up. Right. Because she was trying to overcompensate for my father not being there, and also trying to really do what she as best as she knew how, trying to raise a man, right? And as we both know, there's no manual for that. There's so many layers to it. So when when the brother talked about implicit bias, right, and call it what it is, it's just prejudice. I liken to say it's just really about being able to universally tap into every language, every term, every terminology, you know, implicit bias. Okay, it might be something that you call prejudice, but it really is, when you dig down and look at the definition, it's about unconsciously feeling a certain way about a population or a body of people. So it actually makes you understand that sometimes, like if you grew up in a house where your uncle, your aunt, your grandmom didn't like black people, it wasn't something you had to think about. It was just something that was a part of you. You know what I mean? Like we all grow up, like, and to me, it's about expanding. And this is why the Brothers Bunch is so important, because and it's kind of how I think. Like I've always wanted to go to seminary. Always want to go to seminary, not necessarily because I want to be on a pulpit and be able to preach to people. It's because in seminary, they challenge you to understand every religion, right? It challenges you to understand like every language, because at the end of the day, I know I was born and bred as a Christian and a Baptist, right? But it wasn't until I became an adult that I started doing things differently. Like I realized that, okay, if I want to have a glass of wine, guess who's going to have a glass of wine? I'm going to have a glass of wine, right? But I had to break out of these traditional senses of what I'm not supposed to do, what the Bible is telling me, that like, because I grew up a certain way. But when you become an adult, you have to start challenging systems and challenging language for yourself. So for me, I understand what the brother is saying, but the beauty in the Brothers Brunch is that I can listen, I can actively listen intently, respect his thoughts, and not necessarily agree with them. But that doesn't mean that I totally disagree with everything he said.
Right. Joe, how about you, bro?
That was a heavy conversation. And my dad was born in West Virginia, so my dad did not like people who was not black, right? So that ran down onto me. And then I was raised in a church where, in the church back in the days, we accepted everything, like you said about slavery, right? So for me, I had to pick different portions of my life to create my own personality and my beliefs on how I was going to be a father, be a man, and survive in this world. So with my son, I always told my son, we got to be strong. You always got to be able to think your way through situations while actually talk through situations, right? So now I'm hearing the conversation that people are talking about now, that there's still some more dialogue we need to have about different sections of a manhood. But the question I have now is like, how we reach the young men right now in the inner cities who not on our academic level where we are, living in the suburbs like we live in. Like, how we reach these kids and let them know what a man is. Right now, their visionary of a man is somebody like Drake, the Baby, 2 Chainz. You know what I'm saying? These guys who are not putting out that positive image. Right? How we change that dynamic to where we reach the young kid like, yo, you gotta get a job, you gotta be responsible, you gotta take care of what you create, whether it's a baby or whatever it is. Like, you gotta be different than what you've seen on TV. Like, how we change that dynamic has been my question for a long period of time. Like, now I'm even more invoked now to go into the communities and talk to these younger men. Like, yo, you cannot be like what you see on TV. I watched a series last night on YouTube because I'm bored, right? And they were saying about how many rappers now are broke because they portray an image that you got to have the money, the cash, the jewelry. They're broke. I did not know Fat Joe had to file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that hit me. 50 Cent had to file bankruptcy. Like, what? But the kids don't see that dynamic. They see the dynamic. Oh, they smoking weed. They got the young ladies. They got the fancy cars, the big jewelry. That's not the dynamic of what it is to be a black man. We have other struggles in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you try and get a job. You have to fight the everyday struggles of are you good enough to be, to take this job? Kev used to work in academic like myself. Like, the black men are struggling in that way area. We already have enough struggles against us. But now we got to figure out who we are. Like, that's crazy.
Well, that's kind of like, just to touch on what you're saying, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier, man. When you have your culture and your identity stolen from you, it's hard to have that definition of what masculinity is. That's why I don't use those terms, man, because we don't have the same culture that, that black consciousness that, was once here, is gone now. And the only way to get it back is, like I said, when conversations like this and where platforms like this and where platforms like Kev have become as popular as the NFL and the other stuff that we love watching so much, that's when we'll be able to reach these kids, because this platform, should have thousands of black men watching. and sharing this with their kids. Like we had our viewers that like, hey, I make my son watch this. And that's how it starts. We need people that are going to have their kids and have their nephews watch shows like this, attend events like what Kev has, where it's positive black men that want to see our kids successful, man. That's why I started this podcast, is to reach those teenagers and give them a platform, because they go through even more stuff than what we went through in school. They're like, wow, this is crazy. You know, they're going to college and then they're getting out and they're stuck with thousands and thousands of dollars of student loans and can't get a job, or they make 30,000 or they make 40 and they got a bachelor's or a master's and they're making 50,000. You know, our kids are going through so much more than even I went through, and I just got out of school 10, 12 years ago. So it's like when this kind of dialogue, when the brothers brunch, when the podcast like this was the only podcast on social media that was about black men's health specifically. I was like, wow. I was like, man, surely I'm gonna find other people that's doing this. You know what I mean? So this needs to be something that black men turn to and will watch and will pick up from, and then will help other young black men know that, yo, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to talk about this stuff. Let's come up with solutions together. Let's network together. Let's open our own businesses. Let's build with each other and find out how to apply for jobs. Let's study together. There's so much we could do as young black men to change this narrative that we can't work together, because that's a sickness, bro. We can't work with each other and build with each other. That is a sickness that's been handed down generationally. And that's my vision, bro. My vision is to get on this podcast and have thousands of black men be able to do summits, be able to go to schools like what Kevin's doing, go to colleges, and just allow black men and women to bond and fellowship with each other and build each other up. So
we got a comment real quick from one of our viewers, Jesse Radford, my homeboy down in Virginia. He's a pastor. We've been very close for a while. He said, regardless of how we want to fight this notion, we tend to simulate and mimic the most prevalent examples that are paraded before us. So you know what he just said? He just gave me an idea. We need to be more vigilant in making our platform more available to everybody, right? So like Kev this morning, he's sharing our show on this page, right? So I think we need to do more of a dynamical reach out to these young kids, to get them while they're young, to be that image in their eyes instead of the baby and all these rappers, right? So I'm willing to take that challenge, you know what I'm saying? And whoever want to join us, please join us, because we got to save our kids right now. Majority of our fathers right now are locked up, or they dead, or they just being not nowhere to be fathers. And I appreciate you, Kev, as well. I've been watching your videos this week with your kids. Like there's a little dance going on TikTok. Like Kev and his kids do it. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't want to do that with their kids. Like he's on national platform dancing with his son. Then he pushed his son out the way. Then he got one with his daughter. Then he got one even more with his wife. We in the chair and he in the chair getting busy.
Private ones with my wife. I can't share it with the world.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that one. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like most men do that. Like I want to do a dance with my daughter now because she want to dance and everything. So now he's motivating me to do that as well. Like we got to break this monotony of like we're just gonna be locked up in our house during this pandemic and we ain't gonna do nothing with our kids and not gonna do nothing with our boys. You know what I mean? Like this show is very, very just resilient for me because now I got energy. I've been sick all week long, but now I'm ready to run a mile right now. You know what I mean? Because talking about issues that black men have and the people that's joining us on the show, stuff like that, like this gives me motivation. I gotta be somebody else today. I'm gonna call some young kids. They ain't talking like, yo, you gotta watch our show. Oh, by the way, everybody like us and follow us on YouTube as well. We're on different platforms as well. But like we gotta reach our younger kids so our history that we had in the back, we can change that to something more dynamic for the future.
So Kev, how can we help with our podcast platform, help you with the Brothers Brunch or get involved with it? Or how can you get volunteers to help? I would love to be able to stretch something like that and be an extension of the team and help you build your platform. How can we help? How can the viewers help you continue to grow this, man? Because it's powerful, bro.
No, I appreciate that. I think this is a help. I think, to Joe's point, I am streaming it, sharing it as a watch party on my page. I think just being open to collaboration. I think oftentimes we find spaces like I've been trying to I had this vision for how I want to do the podcast rather, and because I've been wanting to do one for quite some time, and I can't get out my own way. Like I just feel like I can't. I want to do it a certain way. I want to have a certain vibe, and so you all inspire me in that because I watch, how you do it, from the behind the scenes to the execution, and I think it's dope, and just providing a space for collaboration and being able to share knowledge with one another, man. Like to your point, where one of the things that impressed you about one of the brunches you came to was the fact that I had a boy in there that was open with, look, if you call yourself a business owner, these are the things that you should have, A, B, and C. And a lot of us were like, nobody ever told me that. And so what's happening is that we're in these spaces where everybody wants to be the only people to do this or the only people to do that, or we do it the best, as opposed to really taking this cohort of brothers and saying, yo, why don't we do something on a larger platform where we can reach multiple audiences? So you all have a following, I have a following. I'd be remiss not to come on your show and not want my following to follow the work that you're doing. So now what happens is your platform becomes even larger because folks that were following me are now onto the work that you all are doing as a Black Man podcast. So you are helping. You're helping exactly the way you're doing it now. We have tons of ideas for this year. Some that have been derailed. But I say if you buy in, let's have some offline conversations. I'm looking to do a recidivism brunch. Just, this is when men come out of jail, keeping them out of jail, but creating a space so that they have the resources available to them where they don't have to resort to the things that put them in jail. So what's happening is we're putting brothers behind bars, then they get out, and then we're talking about the rate of men that go back. But if we're not giving them the tools that they need to be successful when they get out, then what do we expect? So I don't know where these concepts or these ideas come from. It's not like, I have a lot of experience with incarceration or anything like that. But what I do have is a love for people, right? I have a love for people. I have a love for men who are trying to do their best. I think we're all from different walks of life. And I think when it comes down to it, we just have to share with each other, or when we see a need, we have to feed the need, and we got to stop thinking about it so much. So when you ask, like, how can you help? I think this does help. Like this broadens the conversation. This puts it on a larger platform, and we can continue talking about some of the things that we can do from a collaborative standpoint, where we can take all of our resources and come to the table by way of a brothers brunch and really, really bring some positive energy to the table.
Man, I'm with it, bro. We got 2 comments here. CMP, Mr. Bryce here, said we got an amazing comment. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We definitely appreciate you. Got another comment. Miss Johnson says, wow, with the extra exclamation points. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate you. Got another comment here. We need these conversations, and we need more Black men changing the narrative, being pillars of the community and staying in our communities to break these generational curses. I probably say the word generational trauma at least once a podcast, don't I, Joe?
More than once a podcast. That's like a staple in our conversation. You know what I mean?
At least once a podcast. Mr. Bryce, like, that is so true. We have to break this narrative, man. That one, we can't build with each other. That we have to figure out everything on our own. Like, one of the things, I am a Prince Hall Mason. Shout out Lodge, Mount Olive, number 25. What's up, peoples?
No shout out there.
One of the things the leader of our lodge said to me, he said, "You're not alone anymore." Wow. And that allowed me to get the buy-in to want to do the fraternity. Like, you have people here that you can talk to, that care about you, that can help point you in the right direction, that can help guide you. And that's what we have to be as Black men. That's why the end of our positive affirmation that I wrote is say that it's time as Black men that we stand our ground and we speak our truth and we go after what we want, regardless of the pain we've been through, and we quit for no one and inspire others to be themselves, to become greater. And we owe it to ourselves as black men. And that's my favorite part, because we do owe it to ourselves, because nobody else is going to give it to us.
Right.
We're not given nothing in this world.
Right. And we got another comment too from Jesse Raff. He said premeditated presence. He said, which is good. He said, this is excellent, gentlemen. Pioneer landscape. So like Kev said, we're already doing the right things. You know, we never think about we're doing the right thing. We just think we're just trying to do something to touch our community. But like we're saying now, more and more people now are getting involved. And it's like, I can't wait till this pandemic is over, because I think they have motivated the black man now to become more stronger than we have been before. Because now we sit now we have time to think, we got time to read, to communicate with others, and put forth more of a stronger platform. Yo, whenever we come out these doors, I'm coming out swinging.
Yes,
hard.
sir.
You know what I mean? Like I've been wrapped up like a bear. You know what I mean? I'm coming out like I'm just, man. Watch out, world.
So Mr. Bryce also says he owns his own radio station. He said he's down to help. We need to work together. We will contact you offline. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'll hit you up after the show and see what you how we can help each other. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's just been amazing to hear some of the positive feedback that we've heard since we started doing this podcast, even with people that are doing tremendous stuff out here, like what Kev is doing, the fact that he has positive things to say about our platform and about what we're trying to do, man, it's just really humbled me. And this podcast is my therapy. I love talking about this stuff. And I love the fact that we're finally starting to get engagement. We're finally starting to get people to call into the show. We're getting black men to call in. We get our sisters to call in. We love our sisters, man.
We love it. I love my queens.
Yeah, we love our queens. If you're a sister and you're watching, call into the show. This ain't all just, it's called the As a Black Man podcast because I'm not a woman. But we love our sisters. We love our sisters, so please call in. We've had our sisters call, and we've had so many great comments. Like, I just get blown away by some of the comments and stuff that people have been able to say. One last comment. Nobody else is going to give us anything to better our situation. They have failed us standing together for over 400 years. You ain't lying about that, because if that was the case, everybody else seems to be getting reparations except black folks. And as far as I'm concerned, we should be getting a lot of reparations based off of all the things that we built in this country.
Yeah.
And to start to close this generational wealth gap, even if reparations was as simple as, you know, getting rid of black folks' student loans.
Hello.
You know what I mean? Or, you know, helping us open a business. You know, a lot of times, like, people can move to this country on a visa and open a business and get tax-free benefits on their businesses. So I'm like, hey, you know, there could, and loans. So, you know, throw some of that our way. But since that ain't going to happen, how can we as black men build it for ourselves? We got all these celebrities. We got all these people that's rich. You know, why can't I go to Shaq? And as long as I got a valid, valuable business, maybe Shaq can help me get a loan. Like, I'm like, all right, so we need like that black consciousness so we can become our own bankers. We can become our own, you know, people to build our own businesses. You know what I mean? Because like I said on the show a couple of weeks ago, they got black folks that got $250,000 in the bank, 750 credit score, and still can't get a business loan.
Can't get a loan.
Can't get a loan. So
I'm trying to get a loan now because of this pandemic, and there's so many red lines I gotta cut just to get a loan because my business is shut down for right now. Like, are you serious?
Can't get a loan, man. People that qualify for loans,
yeah,
they qualify for them.
Yeah, I qualify. I mean, all the criteria.
Throw the money your way, and they ain't gonna do you right by the money. But if you qualify for a loan and you're in good financial standing and get one, it's time for us to build with one another so we can become our own bankers. You know, and that's kind of like my vision, that this kind of like starts that dialogue and that collectiveness between us as black men. Hold on, we got another comment. Mike, it says, it seems as if we have been taught to be afraid of each other's success and our own success. That's a fact. Kev, go ahead and speak to that, bro. Because I know you got something, you know, big, that to speak to that.
This is what I'm going to say about it. I think, and I don't know how closely you follow the work of the Brothers Brunch, but there is. So I don't really. Let me just give you like the business model of it, right? So there's the Brothers Brunch Incorporated. So we have the Brothers Brunch Incorporated, which is the nonprofit arm, which is everything that we do philanthropically in the communities. But then you have the Brothers Brunch LLC. So when I go out in these schools, it's a sizable check that I receive when I go to schools to speak. Now, God knows my family needs the money, right? But if you follow the brunch, what I've begun doing is I'm sharing the wealth, right? Because I know that there are people that specialize in certain areas, and brothers that could benefit from the platform that I already have created. And so I'm very intentional about inviting those brothers to the table. And so I'm paying for their flight, I'm paying for their accommodations, I'm paying for their food, and in some cases they'll get a stipend if I could afford to do so. But the larger I become, I'm making sure that I'm very intentional about bringing other brothers in the fold, and I'm clear on what I can do in the very beginning. Look, I might just be able to share the stage with you, or this is what I'm going to be able to do. I can pay for you to come down, and I think that model is very important because sure, I'm the man behind the brand. I can go to all of these schools, but I have to think about the fact that there's going to come a time where um, Clark Atlanta may want me the same day that Florida Memorial may want me, and I can't be at the same place at the same time, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to build, a brand to the point where I know that there are other brothers that are just as dynamic or even more dynamic in their respective areas that can be great. I just think it's a mentality, and we're conditioned to just saying, okay, well, this is what I do, and I'm going to hold on to it, right? And I'm not going to share because so here's the thing, what God gave us all individually is something very special. And if he gave it to you, he gave it to you, and only you can do it the way that you can do it. So for me, I'm not necessarily intimidated by any other person that's doing the work that I'm doing. I just look at it and I get excited. I'm like, wow, man, if we could just bring our brands together, we could do something really special. Um, but I don't, again, we're not conditioned to being that way. And we are absolutely afraid of each other's success because what happens is we see somebody else doing it and we start to get a little like, either we're hating on them or now our motivation is to do it and do it bigger and better. I don't see a lot of brands saying, okay, wow, we're doing the same things. Why don't we just collaborate and do it together?
Right.
And
So,
even if you hear somebody come to you and say, yo, I want to do what you're doing, like, are you going to be open to allowing that person to share the same stage with you?
right. I have one comment for Mike here. The front one, thanks for tuning in. You got another comment. We're about to throw it on the screen. But to throw this out here, where it comes to us being afraid of each other's success, let's say back in the slavery time, if I knew how to read, just teaching somebody else to read was punishable by death.
Yep.
So just keep in mind, like some of this not sharing the secrets to success stuff is generational that goes back hundreds of years. Because sharing stuff that helps somebody else succeed, that's why you always hear people say, I had to figure out on my own, so you could do it too. And
the crab in the barrel mentality, bro.
To share that information. But just think about how powerful that is. If I were to teach somebody else how to do something, it was punishable by death. So I just throw that out there as far as like how deep and how far this goes back to the current mindset of the black man, and nobody talks about it. And we think that we don't have these thoughts or these bias, but we remember these stories and we remember the things that has happened to people that have tried to build and have tried to help people grow. And pretty much every major black civil rights leader was killed. And they were trying to share wealth, share knowledge, help people grow businesses. They're all gone. All of them. Yeah. So,
but when you think about it, like how much fervor do we have in our spirits right now to be great, or like how convicted are we to do the right thing or to be that one, right? I think the difference between now and back then is that you were willing to die or go to jail for what you believed in.
Right.
Like, I mean, so there's nothing to see Martin Luther King and all those folks. They all touched the jail cell because they were willing to go to bat for what they believed in. I think society has changed so much. And sure, back in the day, it was a certain way. Now things are just really different. And so I think, from a leadership standpoint, we all need to just do better. Like we have the tool to be successful.
No, that's definitely true. But everybody has a breaking point, bro. You see enough people get broken and killed, and you can break. And I'll just leave it at that. You see enough people, enough of your leaders get killed and broken, and you can crack, man.
But that's why we got to do things differently. Like one of the things I say all the time is we have to stop setting ourselves on fire to keep other people warm. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean like I don't have to be on fire just so you can be warm, but I can give you the tools that you need to be successful, right? I can set the stage or at least walk you to the door, but I don't have to. Like we could just do things differently. And there's so many examples of that. But I definitely hear what you're saying in terms of everybody having a breaking point. Because I've led a few people to some doors and they didn't walk through, or they, broke the door down and all, so you get burnt a few times and you start to change your perspective on it. So I get it.
You do. But I think also too, the more numbers we have now, opposed to like in the past, we had numbers in, but more people scared. Like you said, because if you did something, they was going to kill you. But now we know the dynamic of that right now being applicable in today's time frame is kind of hard to kill people now, just because their revolution they starting. So we have more numbers supporting this. It's kind of, you can't kill everybody,
right?
You know what I mean? So I think if we band together and get more numbers, because we already got people supporting us, not just us, there's other people out there doing other movements as well. It's kind of hard to take on that without saying having destruction. Because if I fail, you two got my back. Y'all keep rolling.
Right.
When you fell, me and Kev got your back. You know what I mean? So when one falls, they keep the ball moving until the ball is falling down flat and not moving no more. You know what I mean?
So we got one last comment. This is the last one we're gonna do. So we had. I know. I said, look, we love our viewers, man, and we actually missed a week. So this is kind of like the makeup for the week that we missed.
I got nothing but time.
We ain't going nowhere.
And we still got 21 strong on here watching and listening. So I'm like, wow, people are really liking this information and really tuned into the show today. So we probably go for another 10 minutes. But so this comment here, I got mine and you got yours to get is all I ever heard growing up, which is why I got it the easiest way I knew how. Now at 40 years old, I see that if I had a positive mentor that taught me how to be something positive instead of negative ones, I had that taught me how to hustle and survive. Like, that is so true, man. Like, we got to change that narrative, man. We got to get off of that. Like, if you're a black man and you on the show today, or you're a black sister, challenge yourself to help somebody. If you're good at what you're doing and you're successful at it, help another black person be successful too. Go out and help somebody, like mentor them, become a mentor to one of these teenagers or a college student. Like, we have to, if you can just affect one person, we got 21 people on here. That's 21 people helping 21 people. And if that 21 people grow up and help another 21 people, it can be as simple as that. Like, sometimes we feel like we have to overdo things to make a positive impact when you don't. You don't have to reach. Like, you have to go out and we don't got to do our podcast every single day, 7 days a week, right? We do it once a week, but we try to reach as many people as we can. And Kev, I'm sure you're doing the breakfast brunch, but it's not like every weekend, right? So you're reaching as many people as you can. Like, we don't have to overdo this thing, but the more people that we get involved and the more people that collectively want to help other people and make a difference, like, we can start to change this narrative. So Kev, like, what is your thoughts on changing this narrative? What Mr. Bryce has heard growing up, and like, I'm sure you have heard similar things. Like, what is your thoughts on how we're going to change this narrative for black people?
I think being present, like truly being present, and also being consistent. I think the struggle is real when it comes to brothers starting stuff and stopping or not being consistent. And this goes, I mean, this is in every aspect of life, right? As fathers, as husbands, the struggle is real, right? To be consistent as a man. Your word is your word, right? And to show up, be present, and be consistent. And that's easier said than done sometimes. Even with like I've changed so much over the course of my life, man, and I just do things so differently now because even with mentors, how many times I go to colleges and you got a line of guys waiting to talk to you afterwards, and I'm like, this is awesome, but I'll have 10 of them ask, can you be my mentor? And I'll look at them and say, you don't know me. You you met me one time. You don't know me. I said, but this is what I will do is we'll exchange information and the ball is in your court. So you do the work, and that type of relationship that you're looking for, that you think that you want, organically it will happen if you do the work, because you have to do your part, and then I'll respond. But what I'm not going to do is put myself out there, and before you know it, I'm quote unquote your mentor. And what does that even mean? What does that relationship look like when you don't really know somebody, right? So there's just a lot that we have to do just differently. But I for sure, I look at life differently and how I show up in these different spaces. I'm not trying to be everything to everybody. There's a power in the word no.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily subscribe to, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. I used to feel that way, but I think that sometimes in life you have to lose in order to win. And every loss is not really a real loss. Like sometimes you have to go into things, really wanting, with a heart of giving something or adding value to something, and it always comes back. We haven't skipped a beat in my house. And it's because the way I approach the Brothers Brunch is that I want to be able to serve. I want to serve people. This is not about just me. When it's not the Brothers Brunch featuring Kavan. If you look at all the social media platforms, my board has told me to get my personal page. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I realize that I'm the man behind the brand, but I work really, really hard to try to just have the Brothers Brunch be an entity in and of itself with all the work that we do. So
I'll say another thing too is that me and Kev had a chance to join a fraternity, right? And I look back on the history of fraternity, like it was created back in the 1900s when we had to bond together to survive. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a part of being a part of a social organization that thrives, that people like to be a part, but it's part of survival. You know what I mean? That our brothers, our founders, and the sorority sisters as well had to create a dynamic back in the days where we had to be, supportive of one another, or we would have died, academically and physically. You know what I mean? So that's why now I'm more important now that I reach out to my younger brothers as in the undergrads. Let's know, look, when you get out of get out of college, that you still need somebody to be there for you. Lean on your brothers, lean on the shield. You know what I mean? But we have that dynamic because we're educated and we went to college. But also we got to look at the dynamics of the kids who don't go to college. What kind of support system they have? You know what I mean? So that's why I think this word is very phenomenal because we can reach both dynamics. The ones who did go to college, who did, become a part of an organization like Cap Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, that was 1911. You know what I mean? But
Right.
you know what I mean. But also like with Mel, like Mel's part of an organization that didn't even participate with college. You know what I mean? As a Mason, there are organizations out there that was created back in the days for us to survive off of. But whatever dynamics can we give the young kids now to look at it as well? Now, it's great to be a part of a fraternity or a Mason. That's great. It's wonderful. But whatever dynamics do we have that we can give to these kids to survive on to make it through life? I mean, and I think that's what we're talking about now is that we need to reach these kids even more now than we did before. Because if we had this when I was growing up, who knows where I'd be right now? You might be calling me Dr. Barnhart. Don't know. You know what I mean? Because we're stimulating people's mind to think outside the norm. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we need to keep that wheel going. You know what I mean? Keep this ball going as far as we can.
it's funny. We like when you mentioned like the bonds and the fraternity, man. I remember being in college and really wanting to be like those guys. I remember that. I remember the that vulnerable moment of saying like, wow, when I get this, I'm going to be that, or like, or wanting to belong to something, and
Right.
but having this code at school of you can't talk about it, right? And wanting to like be cool with this group because I've never really had a squad or anything like that. I remember having the emotion of wanting to belong or be accepted by a group. And I always wonder as an adult, like, where did that come from? I'm so individualized in my thinking now where I'm completely happy with Kev, right? With all my flaws. I spent 40 years to get there though.
Right.
Like there has to be something we can pour into these young people to be better. Like you don't need to be a part of a fraternity. You don't need to be a part. Listen, man, I almost, when I look back at my experience, I begged to be a Kappa. I begged and I dropped. Like I dropped, right? I eventually got it, but like I begged to be a Kappa. And I'm like, if my son will know way better, he'll know better. Like he'll know better, he'll be better. Like he's not going to need to be a part of anything. He might want to be a part of it because he grew up seeing my bros and seeing Kev as being a part of something. But I had great friends, man. Like great friends that I didn't need to be a part of the fraternity, but I wanted it because I wanted to be accepted. And there was nobody that I could talk to about that. Where did that come from? Like if I had somebody to pour into me and say, yo, you are okay. Like you're good. You don't need to be a part of any organization. Now, this is why organizations are cool, and this is what you can get from the organization. But I don't think I came to the table knowing the value that I had. Like I think I was cocky, right? But I think, you know, now that I know what I bring to the table, I'm never afraid to eat alone. Ever.
Right. No, man, I think that everybody is longing for that space where they can feel accepted.
Absolutely.
And I think like it doesn't have to be a fraternity, but like it can be as simple as like what we're doing on our platform, just a safe haven for people to come talk and fellowship and build with each other, or like your breakfast brunch. I mean,
brothers brunch.
Brothers brunch. That's what I meant.
You messing everything up today.
I know. Listen, man. Listen, guys. This is a special treat to have my man on here. So this is the longest we ever been on the podcast. So excuse me, I'm a little sleepy here. You know what I mean? So, but no, man. Like those platforms, like everybody is looking for a space where they can feel they belong, where they can feel they can accept, where they can see other brown people like them. We had the gentleman that called in earlier that mentioned he teaches Black American Studies. That was my minor. It was amazing to me when I walked in the University of Delaware class for Black American Studies at the big hall, and my professor was white. Now he kept it real, but I'm like, yo, I can't even get a Black professor for Black American Studies. This is ridiculous.
That's why you go to HBCU, bro, to change that dynamic, bro.
Yeah,
right.
You
can't even.
Lincoln.
You said what?
We didn't experience that at Lincoln University.
Well, I'm glad. All right,
State.
All right, that's what I went through at college, man. So so we don't have a lot of platforms with people like us that's going to teach the real history, that's going to build a fellowship with you. So that's why so many people are turning to the fraternities. You know, they want to be around people that look like them, that they deem as positive, and they want to be included. So yeah. Thank you, Mike. Also, we got a comment on the screen. I done left this one up here because he said, hit the share button. Please, hit the share button.
Every Saturday morning.
Please, every morning, just hit the share button. If we get, consistently, we get about 500 views. That should be like 300 shares. We just go ahead and click the share button if you appreciate and like the information that we're sharing so other Black people can see it. So that is true. Thank you so much. It's about the resources readily available. We have to create inclusion, but understanding individually as well. That's true. We do have to create inclusion, and that's what Kev is doing with his platform. That's what hopefully we're going to inspire others to do with our platform. And listen, guys, we love y'all. We're so happy that we got Kev on. Kev, stay on the line. I got to talk to you offline, bro.
All right, man.
Yeah, stay on the line. But we definitely love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all of the comments. Please like us, share us, and we continue to try to grow and develop this thing. And I'm excited about what the future is going to hold for the As a Black Man podcast. I'm excited to see Kev have a nationwide Brothers Brunch. I'm excited for that because we got our brothers in Wisconsin. They need to be getting together too. We got our brothers in Utah. They need to be getting together too. So we're gonna go ahead
two of them.
That my man Kev is gonna have a nationwide Brothers Brunch where brothers all across the nation can get together. And it'd be great to have a year convention where, you know, brothers can come in from all over the country and rent out a hotel or something and fellowship. I'm not trying to speak my vision on you. I don't know if that's part of your vision, but we're going to speak you, have a nationwide brothers brunch, bro, because what you're doing is powerful. We appreciate you. We love you, bro. So thank you for coming on our show today. And Joe, I love you as well, bro. And we love our viewers, man. You tell another black person you love them.
We love them all. We love them all. And look, also, please stay inside, people. The more we stay inside, the faster this pandemic goes away. We come outside, we can be more able to fellowship and greet one another, man. Please stay inside and stay warm. Trust me. Coming from my heart. Love you.
Hey, yeah. Don't. Hey, yeah. Don't.